I got sidetracked. I wasn't paying attention enough to. I was trying to sort out why this one camera has gone all squishy again, but it's what it is. We're just gonna leave it as it is. Okay. Hi, how are ya? So, yeah, I finished yesterday's one-page comic suggestion, which was I wrote it down. Chuck Norris, Fashion Runway God. And, so I went for, there we go. Hi, Phil. That's a very nice compliment. Thank you, sir. That's what I was kind of going for. So that's working. I tried to totally make it a 1970s shtick. Set it hard into the 70s there. So I appreciate that you picked up on it. So successful. So the last couple of days we've had some good projects. The one that was previous to this was Christopher Walken, and at some point during the show, I will be doing my Christopher Walken impression. A friend of mine said, "You got to read that page doing your Walken impression," and so I'll be turning the camera off for that because I look like an imbecile. So, although you can't really see me with how bad this camera is. You know what I like? This is something I like. I like the people that say, if I see like a camera that's all glitchy like that when I'm trying to watch something, I'll just turn it off. Because I can't stand that. I love those people. Yeah, they're my favorites. They make it really easy not to worry about them. So I'm not too worried about this camera. I hope you aren't as well. But I'm putting together some inks because today's request is underway. Just gathering some materials. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Luan. How you doing, Jim? So I've got it up again in the side conversation here on StreamYard. It says if you have a one-page comic idea that you can put in 1 or 2 sentences, put it in the comment section below. It's a lot of puts. Okay, so there's 2 days ago, there's our page, and then yesterday, this is the suggestion. The Chuck Norris fashion action show is what I did from the suggestion of Chuck Norris, Fashion Runway God, which is a really fun suggestion. Really fun one. I liked it. I was happy with the suggestion. So I tried. So it was a collage. It was suggested that I do it as a collage, which I have endeavored to do, and also I just tried to go for that spirit of the 70s and get that really situated in there. So hopefully it comes across because that was the intention. But it's all collage. There's no drawing in this sucker at all. But there's always a but, isn't there? Thank you very much for that compliment, Jim. I'm glad you like it. I went and to every image used. At one point, I had 32 layers on this page because every image that I used and cut out, which is what I said was going to be super boring yesterday, it was. But every image that I used for this was modified. It had effects put into it and with different filters so that it's not just pictures. You know what I mean? Like everything is destabilized enough. If you were to open this up and expand it, you would realize that every photo source that I've used has been messed up somehow. Moving people closer to each other or apart from each other, like the 2 announcers there. Or the Chuck Norris Fashion Action Show in the title card has a photo of Chuck lying on the grass. It's a black and white picture. So I put a pattern, one of those 1970s wallpaper patterns, is right over top of his head. Right over top of all of them, actually. I've just erased it over his face. And in the backgrounds of each of the panels, I've got more wallpaper patterns and the wallpaper patterns on the floor and on the back wall of the stage. And So yeah, it was a lot of manipulation, a lot of little fiddly bits of because I wanted it to be more than just I want it to be more than just taking the photos and putting them together. I think collage is all about how you make it be what you need it to. So, okay, just opening a message from Gary here. And he has sent me an image of his guys from his book for me to use. So I'm going to just keep that kicking around in the background. Okay. So today's suggestion. Oh, anyway, so this is the page. I don't know if people have had a chance to read it yet or not, but I tried to do it as though it was it was a broadcast and how they used to talk as broadcasters. Very, very specifically, very, very specifically, Howard Cosell. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight you are in for a treat of epic magnitude. Everything that guy said was sensationalized. So, it's a fashion show that likes that God has never seen. But you're telling me. So, yeah, that is the meat and potatoes of that page from yesterday. Now, today's suggestion is Sam, the Private Eye, meets the MIBs from DVSN 1975 with there we go. Okay. Yep. Just saving a couple of images that Gary has sent me. Boy, oh boy. So that's what the beeping is. So I've been gathering some images from Gary and Paul for me to use on this page. And then I've got my Sam the Private Eye pages that I'm about to pull up. So just bear with me for 1 second. So it's one thing to gather up source. It's another thing. I've been talking about this lately. I'm a big experimenter. I'm really all about trying anything out and seeing what works, and not restricting people in any way, shape, or form with their creative process. There's no part of me that wants to keep people from expressing themselves. So, it's a different perspective than some people have. I realize that, but I had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and that they're always hearing from others about oh, there's Gary. Gary's joined us. How you doing, Gary? They're talking about how they're always into these conversations with others that are their initial mode is to discredit and critique others' work, and they were having a really frustrating time with that. And I felt really bad that they were going through that, because I really, really personally hate that. I don't care if whatever your personal aesthetic bias is with people, but don't discredit the fact that another person's working and how it is that they're working. It's just so discourteous. But we're not doing that here. We're having some freeform fun here. I've had people over the years dismiss whatever it is I'm doing on whatever level, and my answer to that has always been, I don't care. I really don't care. Oh, Gary's throwing in on this. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's a bummer attitude. You're darn right it is. I've got nothing for those people that do that. And I find it so disingenuous, and I find it so small, especially because it comes off as, I find it highly competitive. So rather than focus on any of that stuff, and the reason that I'm bringing it up in this way is because of how much this affected this friend of mine, and they're going to check in on the show today. And I just wanted to reinforce what we talked about yesterday. Don't worry about it. Dismiss those people. Who are they anyways? Right? They're not you, and they're not working on whatever you're working on. And if anybody else comes across that, let it go. Don't worry about it, because what you're doing, I always look at anything that people create from this perspective. Even the people that are doing that to others. It's unnecessary, but you do you, right? No matter what, I always stand by this. Whatever you're doing and whatever level you're doing it, and whether or not it's any kind of expression that you have that's coming out and you need to equivocate what's going on inside you, inside your head and your heart, in whatever creative venture you're doing, there is somebody out there waiting to hear it, waiting to see it, waiting to read it, whatever it is, there's somebody looking for you. So no matter who it is and whatever level they're working at, there's an audience there. It's just a matter of connecting to that. What's Gary said? It's my first level sorting of what live streams I listen to. If it's a lot of crabby critique and poo-pooing, especially the fellow indies, I'm out. I don't blame you. I'll just drop out immediately. Like I'll just, good night, goodbye, good day, whatever time it is, good morning. I'll leave it that moment. And I haven't come across it much. I haven't tried a lot of live streams for a lot of, I don't like talkie panels, because I find them, if they're interviews, if they're people interviewing, that's one thing. Oh, hey, thanks, Jim. That's nice of you, buddy. I'm good, peeps. Beep, beep. If they're interviews, I love really in-depth interviews, and I love engagements between creators and free-form conversation about art. I love those. But when it's cool guys being cool and talking about just their shtick, and and look at this drawing, it's I'm great. And what I mean by that is, like, some of the shows with established creators, this isn't a way to engage and encourage and develop others. This is just a look at me moment. I think that anything that we do creatively, if we can do it in such a way that it illuminates other ideas or abilities or ways to try and approach things, whether it's outlook or whether it's actual creative endeavors, that's a benefit. But just talking about how cool I am, that's not. So that's why I don't do it. I do like engagement video. I like how Gary does his when he's, hey, let's talk. That's great. But at the same time, there's always a little part of me that's itching to see what Gary's drawing at the time. And I know Squatch is waiting to see that. Yeah, same. I want either Charlie Rose style interviews or people talking about the creative life most of all. Excellent. Yeah, excellent. I love Charlie Rose interviews. I really did. He had some absolutely fantastic ones. The guy from the Actors Studio, I don't know if you've ever tried those. But those impressions of him are dead on the money that different comedians do, where he's, your latest work is a delight. It's like, oh, that guy's a creep. He had a couple of interviews, but Charlie Rose was always there. James Lipton. Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Yeah, Lipton comes off as weird to me. It's a little too much adulation. Whereas Charlie Rose wants to know the wherefores and why. And Charlie Rose is the first person that I saw in an interview talks to Terry Gilliam about Don Quixote and it not working out. And I thought, whoa, yeah, buckle up. And you're poking a bear. And, and yet that was a great conversation. So, and also, strangely enough, this isn't interviews or anything. Anytime Guillermo del Toro talks, I just listen. It doesn't matter what it is. Anything he starts talking about, I'm like, I got to pay attention to this for a moment. Okay. Anyways, enough of the grandstanding, Runciman. How do I know it's pronounced Runciman? Huh? I'll show you. It's right there. Runcie Man. I'm glad that people are taking to be putting by Runcie Man on things. I appreciate the feedback I've been getting on that. It's something that I didn't want to be so egregious as to say I'm the Runciman, because there's lots of people with my name. But great, that's great. Hold on, pull that up before I move over there. Christopher, what's your favorite swear word? And he leans back off the table. Yeah, that's the best. And my favorite swear word is crap. Resplendent. Anyways, so yesterday's page, I was really happy with the suggestion. It was a lot of fun. I was also really happy with the encouragement to do it as a collage, because it's not how I work. And so the challenge of that was really interesting for me. Arguably, I'm not going to do it again today or tomorrow, but it's not to say I never will, because I like drawing. And so I try to modify every little single aspect of this thing and to really push myself in learning a lot about Photoshop. And so if that was the objective by suggesting to collage it worked. I appreciate that. Today's suggestion is Sam the Private Eye meets the MIBs from DVSM 1975. And then in parentheticals, I have Paul Pate. Now, I reached out to Paul Pate. Paul Pate has given me permission and images of him to use in this piece. I've reached out to Gary, and thank you, Gary. Gary has sent me images of the MIBs from DVSM 1975. If there's not enough single letter or anagrams to use here, I could call it the MIBs from DVSM 1975. It's such a funny sentence to me. I'm sorry. It's great. I'm really excited. I'm really honored that Gary's suggested that forward. So what I've done is I've looked up previous pages that I've done of Sam the Private Eye. And these are really silly pieces that I've done. These 3 pages are contained in my book that I put out last year, One Page Comic Extravaganza, Volume 1. So I really enjoyed doing them, but the way that I did them was with dipping ink. It's straight on dipping ink. What's making the PI and the MIBs from DVSM ASAP. There you go. Thank you, Gary. Okay, so these are silly pieces that I did. It's primarily in ink. And the inks that I tend to use are either Higgins or anything in this, Rowney, Daler Rowney's, or I think that's a Daler Rowney as well. And then these are the brand names I'm saying, and then there's the smaller inks like Winsor Newton's. So they come in different jar formats. I don't know if you can see these or not. I can put them in the other camera in a bit. But there's the ones with the eyedroppers. And then there's just the small glass jars, which are sort of reminiscent of model paint size containers. So these are what I used for doing Sam. And then I put them into the Photoshopping, into the robot, scanned the images, and then I put this typeface at the top of each of them. No BS, DVSM is A-OK. IMHO. All right. So here's the examples from before. Sam the Private Eye, Part 1. In this episode, even a jaded private dick has feelings. And then in this episode, keep up with the times already. That's Part 2. Part 3 is how to make a gumshoe spill his beans. So clearly, this chat has gone anagram crazy. Yes, indeed it has. If anybody has any kind of allergy towards anagrams, boy, are you in trouble. Okay, so I have already put together the logo for number 4. And the suggested title in my head, at least, is Poop is not an anagram, Jim. Is that your favorite swear word? Poop. It's a good one. Bum. Anyways, and now we've reduced ourselves. Okay, so the suggested title idea that I have in my head for today is in this episode, Hey Nani. Did I actually figure this case out? I was going to write Hey Nani Nani, but it doesn't fit as well. It doesn't fit as nicely. So I've put this together now. I've got the title card, and I've got all these little parts of it set up together, and there's the new number down, and then the text for here, and then of course, I've got my standard stamps going on for each page now. So the idea is to get together the material that I have for these different characters and to start putting the stuff down on paper, which is kind of the fun. So I've got a whole bunch of source images that have been sent now, and I appreciate that very much. So I'll be putting these together as we go. There's all kinds of opportunities that we could find for ourselves when we're looking at how we want to go about drawing, how we want to go about working up our images, working together with our images in order to try to find the thing that, for us, tells whatever comfortable story that we have. And if you need to find resource material, if you need to find, I'm going to take my jacket off, I'm overheating. I thought I'd be freezing today. We got a blizzard outside, and I went out and shoveled earlier, and I just looked outside before this, and of course, it's all undone, everything I did. And man, that was a lot of shoveling. So, thanks for that, Mother Nature. All right, so I like a lot of crime noir stuff. I like a lot of film noir, and with that, I tend to collect a lot of books on that. Give me one sec. So some of it just gets absurd, but at the same time, it's fantastic, and how much it gives you. How much availability it affords you for, seeing scenes or seeing things. Sunny, but bloody cold. Well, you missed a good one because we're getting walloped here. So this is Taschen Books. These guys make these gigantic, you just hear it hitting the table. It's ridiculous. But this book is thick, right? And it covers crime noir throughout history, and it looks at an awful lot of material over time that covers this entire genre. And so books like this are really great because they show you things that you might not necessarily consider. Film noir is really, really known for its shadow, its use of light, its use of contrast. And so because of that, going and looking through black and white books with heavy contrast images will teach you an awful lot about, how to see how things work together, how to look at images that you wouldn't consider to be of any real import. But when you look at the high contrast of the lighting, sorry, I'll get that straight for people, the lighting on their faces, and you manage to got all four faces lit up, and yet all four, like these two guys' backs are completely cast out. It's just completely cast out. And so, and look at the shadow effects that are on the faces of these guys that are looking through a blind. So it really pushes and challenges you for how you see things and how you look at light and how you look at things in your composition. And even a Psycho house, there's the house fully lit, and that's all wonderful. But Anthony Perkins' character, right? What is it? Norman? Isn't that who it is? He's almost a complete silhouette. And so these ideas, these notions of how these black and white cameras would pick up information, it sort of lets us know a great deal of things that we might not have necessarily considered otherwise. Even the color ones have got, fantastic emotional shots of really tight frames on somebody's eyes, holding another person's face towards theirs. Like just these. So again, if you're going to do stuff like genre specific, spend some time just looking at some things like this. You never know what you're going to find, and you never know how that might influence or support and encourage what you're working on. So, okay. Anywho, so I've got the initial idea here. I've got a bunch of stuff collated together for source material for the different character types that are going to be in it. I've got my nib pen over here. I'm trying to set this gigantic heavy book down. Sorry. Okay, so what I use is this. This is a Speedball. This is actually a lino cutter that you put your different bits inside. But I have gorilla hands, right? Josh Campbell was funny last night in our casters. He's like, oh, it's got to be wonderful to be this giant Adonis figure. And I'm like, all I could think to myself is, dude, I'm built like a gorilla. This isn't, you know, yeah, no, I'm more like the gorilla body. And that's not entirely flattering to myself. So, but because I got these mitts, I go nuts with trying to hold on to tiny nibs and tiny nib pens. Because for me, it's challenging enough. I have, you'll find that I use a lot of tools that have either length or thick body to them because of these hands. And because of the fact that my hands are a little crooked here as well, which you don't see because they're always moving. This really gives me the ability to hold on to this sucker because of its thick handle. So that works for me. Now, I'm just going to look back at the first couple pages once more and see what's going down with the colors that I used. Hold on a second. I'll show you what I'm looking at, just so that you're in on the magic. So on the previous pages, these are the colors that I've put together. And I'm just trying to see if I used a black or a brown or what I used for the principal color. And it looks like I drew in black ink and then put the color wash to it. So I want to keep that for this this fourth page. So that answers my question on what I'm drawing with. Now this is light fast when dry, water resistant, non-clogging pigment. So, you know, this, oh, by the way, that's the Daler-Rowney that I was talking about. This is the Higgins brand. This is far less expensive. And then your Winsor Newtons. These two are roughly the same size, despite the different shape to them. But they have roughly the same amount of pigment to them, and the cost around the same. So it's just, well, there's probably less in the Winsor Newton, but because of how much thicker that ink is, it goes further. Before I start cracking lids, just let me get a piece of paper. Oh, there we go. Piece of paper towel out. Because this here's some messy business. So I'm going to put some ink in a reservoir and then work from the reservoir rather than try to hold an ink bottle open. Because that to me is asking for calamity. This is a handy thing. If you can find one of these, this is an ice cube tray. Okay, for your refrigerator, for you to make your, and it has a lid on it. But what it's ideal for is that these are tube inks. So these are wet inks. And squeezing some of those into these reservoirs, there's a gold, a blue, a red, a yellow, right? And then these are some of these jarred inks I showed you. They hold on to their wetness for a really long time. So I'm enjoying the heck out of that. Now, I've kept black out of this sucker for a reason, just because if it spills, it just destroys every other color. So I'm going to fill up this little reservoir. Well, not fill it, you know what I mean. Let's get some in there, though. All right. This is just easier to hold and easier to manage as I'm working, right? Okay. All right, it's all right. Just gonna get it started once off the off the jar just because this is shorter. This will replenish it, but in order to get it started, I got to stick it in here. I'm listening to the soundtrack from the television series Russian Doll that was is on Netflix. And after a conversation from a show the other day, last night I rewatched Seven Psychopaths with and I forgot about a whole bunch of stuff out of that, and so I really enjoyed that. That was a lot of fun to watch that last night. Okay, so I got this guy. So it's just, a little piece of ink on it. And so here I go. I'm just going to draw some panels of Sam. Sam, the Private Eye, as generic as I can make it. You're going to be a fussy lunatic? Trying to get the ink started on this sucker. Wake up. Might need to use my other one. Nope, we're live. Hey, it just took a minute. Okay. All right, I'm going to put you aside. You're going to be my waste paper now because I did that. All right, so it's just looking at my previous image of Sam. I'm going to start drawing him down now. There we are. Now we're live. Being a fussy tool. Get my other one. That's right. That's how dorky I am, is that I have two of these. This is some new nibs that I picked up. There we go. Now we're cooking with the gasolines. Scrap paper one tonight. Okay. So let's just play. Let's just do some drawing. The fun thing about drawing with a dipping pen is that it makes you let go of a preciousness in your line making. I mean, it's such a rough and tumble way to draw in the first place. Just sitting down and going for it is going to afford you chances to find different marks that you might not normally get to, because you're going to be a little more precious about it with how you go about things, how you the perspective that you have on your finishes. This is just it's rough and it's dirty, and it's that way for a reason. So I should have honestly spent a little bit of time earlier today just getting back into the groove of it, but since I've been having to be out shoveling X amount of clock today and other things to get done, I haven't had enough time to play. So initially, Sam was, I was looking at photographs of actors from the 1930s when I was initially drawing Sam. Sorry, I get it out of that high contrast area. When I was initially drawing him, and just gave up. I just gave up really quickly on that and decided that, I'm just going to just make him be whatever he is. Stop trying to make him look like, I can't even think of anybody. I'm thinking Fred Gwynne, but I don't think Fred Gwynne was a third. I think that's the guy that played the Munsters. The Two Youths guy, I think, is Fred Gwynne. So, I let it go and just thought I'd just make him try to make him look like, basically anybody. You can get a lot of, if you just load one of these nibs correctly, you can really get a lot of play out of it. Sorry, my phone was buzzing. I just want to make sure it had nothing to do with, your blood sugar's low. Eat some candy. Get some candy in you, you big lunatic. That's the voice in my head that's in my machine. So, yeah. So here's what I'm going to try. Here's my intent here, right? Is that I'm drawing with this heavy ink. I'm going to draw Sam. And then I'm going to have him looking out a window. I thought I'd start there. And then in a second, I'll put some, when I put some color down, when this dries, I'll do some color washes and I'll put the blinds across his face, because there's some fun stuff for me. It's tricky remembering how to hold one of these nib pens, because it's all about the ink coming out. And if you're holding it the wrong way, you're just scratching the surface and not getting anything out of it. So the last page was fun to do because in my head, I try to find a perspective on how I'm going to approach a page. And the way that because it was such a loose idea of Chuck Norris Fashion Runway God, I thought, well, Chuck Norris's heyday, his high time in life was 70s, 80s. So first off, I got to set it in that time period. Just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's the time period it has to be set in. And then I thought, well, what do I remember really from the 70s? And the first thing that came to my mind in this time was there used to be a lot of these circus shows type things, like Celebrity Circus, where all these people, like Eric Estrada from Chips is going to try to do a high-wise trapeze act. And so all these different actors would study to perform in these different ridiculous things. And for some reason, that's what came to my mind. And so what I did was use that as the idea that I could root the page in. What do we got? Gary says, I haven't used the nib in forever, but it's something I think about a lot. It might be something to revisit in between drawing books later this year. Oh, you got to play. You got to play. And drawing with a pen nib is one of those things that it forces you to just go for it, to just relax and to do your thing. Because if you're going to be precious about its lines, if you're going to be precious about, how anything goes down, you're going to just drive yourself crazy. So I just tend to not be too concerned about anything when I'm working with this. What's going to happen is going to happen. What happens in Vegas? Huh? So I'm giving Sam one of those standard old simple ties of the 30s. Phil says, I can never ink properly with a nib. I always got a double line. Can never figure it out. You're pressing too hard. You're pressing too hard. If you get a double line, it's because there's a break. Like this one that I have here is good. This one, the one that I was first using, you see how if you can see it really tiny in the image there, because I'll press down hard. See how it separates? There's your double line. So if you're not pressing hard, then it means that your nib's broken and get a new one. It's I had the same thing once, so that's the only reason that I know that. It's one of those things where trial and error, right? But yeah, if you're getting a double line, it's probably a broken nib, or you're pressing too hard. There's a bunch of little reasons behind it, so that it could be. So I tend to have a problem with pressing either too light. I haven't found the intermediate very easy of pressure, because I either press too light or way too heavy. And it usually takes me a few minutes of doodling to get into that zone. So ink is tricky, right? And sometimes doing washes of color over top of your existing heavy black ink, if it doesn't, I find that if it doesn't work out, if it doesn't hold its fastness against the water, you can just photocopy it. That's sacrilege. Nothing sacrilege. There's no rules about what's the only way to do a thing. If you got to photocopy it black and white onto, and I would suggest onto a cardstock or something of the like, and then do your color washes on that, do it. Philip says, I like the scratchy effect it has, though. It creates, though. Reminds me of the old newspaper comics, for sure. I listened to a really funny program today. It wasn't funny. It was very informative. It was talking about the 10 really early Canadian superheroes in this article. And it's a sort of video essay. And I'm sorry, but I can't remember what it was, because I just let these things play through and I don't pay attention to what it is that's on half the time, because it's over there and I'm looking this way. But it was talking about early Canadian superheroes, and it talked about the rise of the Canadian Whites, which is comics that were being produced here in Canada while World War II was on, because we couldn't get the American ones in. So it was just talking about Nelvana of the North, which is basically like our Northern Canadian goddess type that predates Wonder Woman, but has an awful lot of Wonder Woman type to her. So it was really interesting. Anyways, a lot of these books, a lot of these characters are actually owned by different people. Like Mr. Monster is one of those. And if anybody remembers Mr. Monster, Mr. Monster was bought by somebody in the 1970s or 80s because they really liked the character. And he was this serious scientist superhero in the original run of him back in the 30s, 40s here in Canada. But the 1970s version was a comedy. It was hilarious. But I didn't actually know that about Mr. Monster. I didn't realize that. There we go. I got the nib working. Oh, look at that. Found it. I found the sweet spot. All right. Well, this is a good scribble dribble drawing to start with, but now let's get cooking. Okay. Yeah. See, that's the lines here are whatever they are, but now I've got all of the lines figured out in this with this pen now that okay, now it's working. You just got to kind of kick it in, right? There we go. I've got Bauhaus on. I haven't listened to Bauhaus in forever. Bela Lugosi's dead. Yeah, so the request is up again at the start of the thing for anybody that hasn't done one yet. Anybody that tunes in, I'll keep reminding people throughout the stream here. If you have a one-page comic idea, 1 or 2 sentences, let me know. Let me know. Feel free to shout it out, and we'll figure out how we can go about doing that. So, all right. Okay, so I'm going to try to pull up a picture of Paul Pate. And we'll start there. We'll start with Paul. Here we go. Just give me 1 sec, please. Gary says, I remember having trouble moving the nib in certain directions, away for sure, but some lateral movements would make it spit or skip. It was fun though. Focuses your attention. Yeah, for sure. If you're making it, if you're doing that with it, if you're moving it upwards, it's gonna skip. If come on, fella, open up. Oh, look at this fella. There we go. I got a good picture of Paul. Whenever you ask people, hey, send me a picture. Yeah, there's purple sparkles all over me. I got to tell you something. It's a secret, but I might as well let it out. I have got my Princess Power Spirit going today. It's just who I am. I'm comfortable with it. I hope you are too. It's the camera. It totally is a camera. But rather than rebooting and restarting everything and coming in late, I've just left it. So I could turn the camera off if you don't need to see me anyways, but I'll just turn the camera off if that's... There we go. There you go. Happy. Here, I'll put on that other camera of me. There I am. That's me. I'm just joking. Here I go. Okay. So, so I'm going to, now that I got the feels for my pen, I say that and it stops doing what I want it to do. Bela Lugosi's dead. What a ridiculous tool. Has anyone here drawn in Silver Point? And does anybody not know what Silver Point is? If you think drawing with a pen nib is interesting, try drawing in Silver Point. I've got a picture of Paul. It's very small. So I'm going to do my best here. So this comic, my intention is to sit down and draw an interaction between the different characters. Now, I've got ideas of where I'm going to go with this, but what I haven't done is sort of, I kind of really spilled the beans. I just gave you my entire layout yesterday for the 1970s page. And now I got one message from somebody that said, hey, don't do that. I like watching it come up as it comes up. And I respect that. I appreciate that. That's, I'm not conscious of mind as I'm doing this to think about spoiler alerts. But I don't know, I'm curious if other people feel the same way. I'll stop spilling the beans on how everything's going to go before I do it. Anybody that's in London, is the Comic Jam next Monday. I'm going to do some updating later on today on my website. I'm going to change things up quite a bit, actually. But one of the things that I will be doing on there is putting down all the upcoming Comic Jam dates, as well as making sure to remind people about the one-page comic streams that I'm doing here. So, but if anybody has any thoughts or advice on ways that when you look at web pages, things that count, and I don't mean just that, always make sure to sell yourself in this very specific way. I mean, like, is there something that you look at a site and go, hey, I like that. That's the right kind of peeled potato. That's coming art. Oh. Okay. And, Philip, you haven't given me a one-page comic idea yet. You're welcome to do so as well. Okay, so I'm Jason Bourne, right? You know that? Have you seen House Babies? Have you seen those? So I'm that guy, but I'm also like John Wick. So if you could draw me like that, but it's in the Avatar world, and then maybe like I don't know, the green girl from Star Trek's in it, right? Because right? Anybody else that's watching that hasn't suggested a one-page idea, please let me know. And if you already have, I've just got a couple more to get through, and then we can go round 2. I try to follow through on most of them. Sometimes I'll just go, I don't want to draw that. Because I am a giant finicky baby. So I'm just looking for the lines in the source image that I have of Paul, and trying to find those shadows that that he has in his face, and just follow them as lines. Without making him, hey, you made me look like I'm 1,000 years old. I'm really excited. I talked to my wife about a Valentine's Day present last night, and she likes the idea of it, because I think it'd be something fun for us to do. But I don't know if anybody here has heard the comedic stylings of Brian Regan, but he's got to be one of my favorite comics out there. And he's coming to London. What? Yeah, so I don't go to many things like that, but I'm going to that one. Going to it with my missus. And if you get a chance, look him up. He is genuinely funny. He's really self-deprecating. There we go. Sorry, just moving the picture a little bit there. Any suggestions for who Paul Pate's character is? I got an idea, but it's always fun to open up to that external input if anybody else has any ideas. Okay, so you know Jason Bourne, right? Or do I put him in a fedora and he's that guy? But the MIB from NVSM show up because they know what Jim Luan really is. It's actually a fun story. Now I need a picture of Jim. So I didn't read it because, you know, I was busy trying to get this together. But StreamYard told me today that there's a new function where I can assign titles to anybody that's a guest or anybody that's on the show. Huh? Yeah, I'm going to have all kinds of titles for me now. Mary, Queen of Scots. I like the scratchy sound when you're drawing with this. I just, for some reason, you know, I really enjoy the scratchy sound. I feel like this is coming out really indie right now. Oh, what have we got? What have I missed? Yeah, they inform him that Jim has interplanetary diplomatic immunity. Yeah, that's fine. I think I'm going to play with that motif. That'll be the idea. I find myself more and more so choosing what I'm going to do pages in, based entirely on, I haven't done this in a while. Like I'll open a drawer, I'll see a tool and go, I haven't done this in a while, and I'll pull that tool out. And that's how I'm doing this page. And I don't know if that's necessarily a healthy way to go about choosing some things, because then I find myself locked into, well, you're doing it now, filler, whether you like it or not. But, you know, that's one of the things that happens. Gary, when you were drawing your guys for MIB, if you're here, still here, when you were doing your guys for MIB, you told me you take a lot of photosaurs. So does that mean the guys that you're drawing with those mustachios, since it's set in the time it's set in, do you ask your friends to grow that facial hair as it facilitates the characters for the story? Or is it that they already have that facial hair, or do you just have to make that up for them? I'm curious. I'm always curious about other people's resource imagery and how they go about using it. I'm trying to stay, by the way, hard and fast of just using just the nib. I've done so much more now drawing with different ink tools that I'm just prepared right away to just immediately grab something else and add a completely separate effect. So I typically have to change the hair and the clothes. They're mostly bringing poses in the eyes, mouth, etc. Thanks, Gary. That's I think that's really helpful for people, especially people that have had the opportunity to sit down and enjoy your books. Because there's definitely a fine level of exampling in there of a facial expression. It's one of the things that really, really makes that project work. Very often I'm changing their body types too. Well, if you ever need anybody to, stand in for a gorilla, that's nice of you. I'm going to try to figure out a new way to describe myself. It just sounds too much like, look at the size of me. So I think I'm just going to describe myself similar to the doorman in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but pink. That's what I've come up with. I saw an announcement about Arizona Comic-Con. Are you going to go and set up at that, Gary? And anybody else that's in that region, are you also going to it and setting up? Oh, Gary has his table. There we go. Anybody that is in the Phoenix region, I'm sorry, the Arizona, is it in Phoenix? Anyways, let us know, Gary. Give us the deets on that. Let's post those up here in case anybody tunes in here that needs a gentle nudge. A gentle nudge. My leg's gone to sleep. Philip, have you considered doing any comic events or any animation shows? You're talking about a bunch of different objectives you had last night or the other night. Curious if there's anything else you're going to be going to we can tell people about. It's looking to be small and very creator and comic shop focused. Basically what I remember Comic Cons, or what I remember cons being as a kid. Yeah. Throw the link in the comments here. And then when this posts, go back, if you don't mind, go back and put the link in the comments on the live video, or on the video that's on my YouTube under the live section. I'm gonna have to figure out, maybe printing this photo out, because it's challenging seeing some of these details. And I hope that I don't offend Paul. And that way we can get, anyways, Gary, that way we can get the word out. Let's figure out some promoting of each other and their stuff. That the problem with drawing with this is that there's always this concern about if you make one splashy error on the face, you're like, ah! You know, and it's because it's really unforgiving. Anyways, I was trying to figure out how to get to the Arizona Comic Show. Thanks. What do you think of the drawing? Thanks very much, Jim. It's very nice of you. I don't know if anybody would benefit from trying this with the speedball handle, but I find it helps me an awful lot, and I really find it far more stable. So even when I'm drawing the lines, I'm thinking of them as shapes. I'm thinking of the marks that I'm putting down in the context of shapes more so than I am thinking of them as an application of lines. The lines just make up the volumes of the shapes themselves. And that sort of liberates me from being overly concerned about any specific line that I put down, because I'm just trying to see them as shapes. So Jim, if you come back on the stream here, if you don't mind sending me a couple images of you, if you have been suggested into the story. I'm going to draw everybody eventually. Gary, send me a picture of you. Phil, send me a picture of you. Anybody else that's watching, send me a picture of you. It's my chance to be, in history. No nudes this time, Jim. Oh, you can't see me winking because I turned the camera off of me. Hold on, I'll try that again. No nudes this time, Jim. Wink. I wasn't gonna do a thing this afternoon. I was gonna end up not being able to do one today because we were gonna run out to my wife's parents in St. Thomas. The last couple times that she was going up there to see her folks, I wasn't, I had a bit of a head cold, and the last thing in the world I want to do is go over and give it to them. So I wasn't able to go, and so today I'm feeling fine and dandy, and yet we got a lot of snow that is keeping me from driving to this smaller city that's nearby. So that's a bit disappointing for me. Anyways, here I am. You're stuck with me now. Yeah, using a lino cutter, using a speedball lino cutter and putting drawing nibs inside of it is really, really helps me out. It's the right size grip for me. You got to figure out whatever you got to figure out for your tools, and they're not the same tools aren't going to work for all of us. Or you super people out there, your wee hands, everything fits inside of you. I kind of gave him a racer head here. I'm not very talkative today. Chris must be concentrating. Well, I posted a new page. I tend to end up posting things an hour before I do the streaming. I'm going to try to get a little bit earlier than that. That's I feel it's not enough lead time, but the more complex the page has been, and I've done some complex ones of late, the closer to the time I get. I'm working on it. There we go. That might be the best comment I've ever got with an image sign. I had one instance where somebody sent me a photo of themselves and said, "Hey, put me in a picture." And it was an image of him. It was like the most unabashed image you could send somebody. He's sitting on a couch in his underwear, with a box of donuts in his lap, just shoveling one into his face. And he says, all these instructions with it, like try to take out the box of donuts and don't make me eating and please don't draw me. It's like just every key thing that's in that photo. Please don't have that there. Please remove this. Please don't, show that. It's like, try to make me look like I'm not eating. It was such a great thing. I'm like, oh, I love it. I clearly couldn't use it, but Okay, here's my most awkward sitting ever. I did a picture of Jack Layton. Jack Layton was in London. He was the former NDP leader, which is one of the three principal parties in Canada. We have actually got 8, but Jack Layton was a really nice guy. He was really super charismatic, and he was a really good scrapper for the people over business, the people over, old money. Like he was really trying to take on a lot of the established, we're in charge and you're not types. And unfortunately, he didn't. He passed away a few years ago. Before his time. But before that, I had a chance to do this portrait that of the NDP leaders past and present that was hung in the NDP offices in Ottawa. Well, he came to my studio downtown London here that I had at the time at the Covent Market. And so he came to sit for me for a few minutes, and he had a whole entourage of people with him. And so when he arrived, I'm sitting down in front of the piece that I'm working on, which is like 5 feet square. And so when he comes in, I stand up to meet him, and then I do the most awkward and stupid panic ever, because he's got all these guys with him and all these photographers, which weirded me out to start with, because I wasn't aware there was going to be all these cameras. Because that's never entered into my mind on any level that anybody would ever need me in a picture. And so hey, how are you? I'm Jack. And he comes right up to me to shake my hand and meet me. And I stand up, and it was terrible, because I'm 6'6" and he's 5 foot. He was 5'5", and so when I stand up, I panic, because now he's got this entourage with him for photos of him at functions and events, and then he comes and stands in a photo with this baboon, and so I half sit down, like I stand up to shake his hand, and I start to half sit down and then stand up again because I didn't know what to do with myself. So it's such a ridiculous moment, and I was so self-conscious. It was just so funny though, in hindsight, but he's really, really gracious. Oh, you're a tall fella, but that's the most awkward moment I've ever had for my height. So I could just imagine how many photos are on the photographs were on those cameras of my half squatting standing position. It's just stupid. Jack feeds bananas to the monkeys in London, Ontario. And his wife was in that band that did that ba-da-ba-boop-a-doo, yeah, the heat of the moon. That song. That was his wife. Well, is his wife. Well, except for he's, you know what I mean. Well, hopefully this is an okay drawing, and that I haven't offended Paul. So. just to get in the spirit of this tonight, I think I might watch Chinatown. It's Chinatown, Jake. It's one of the best closing lines in a film. We're talking about Westerns on yesterday's stream. I think it was yesterday's. The week starts to blend together for me. Can you tell? Yeah. Thank you, Gary. Chinatown is one of the best. And Two Jakes, the sequel's not half bad, but Chinatown's something else. I like a lot of crime noir films. I like a lot of that sort of a pastiche. And Chinatown's just one of those movies where you're like, good God. Sorry, I'm sliding down as I go here. The Long Goodbye, really? That's a good one. Do you need to find reasons to bring that up? It should just be a natural talking point in every conversation. Sorry, I'm referring to anybody that hasn't seen it. I'm referring to a comment that Gary made about Jim and I find ways to bring up The Long Goodbye frequently. I was trying to think about, there's a really something effect. There's a good Jeff Bridges one. Is it Jeff Bridges? I think it's Jeff Bridges. I've got a whole shelf that's just crime noir, modern or neo-noir films. I've got a box set of it's somewhere upwards of 60 black and whites that go back to the 30s, and I love it, you know. Oh yeah, come on. Just the fact that Elliot Gould is not known enough amongst the younger generation. I was so excited to see him in the Ocean's films. Yeah, The Long Goodbye is a fantastic film. It really is. Yeah, definitely. There's a number of different streaming channels on YouTube. I don't know if you call them streaming channels, but they all they're just all airing old black and whites, and I love it. That's the thing that I usually have playing in my studio as I'm working every day. It's old black and white films on YouTube. That's the type of genre that really floats my boat. See, that's why Edward G. Robinson is the guy that holds up a cell phone in Sam the Private Eye, page 2. Excuse me, miss. Just, you know, I got to get some Humphrey Bogart into something now. Just for that. There's a number of comic illustrators that have a lot of fun with drawing with dipping ink. You'll see guys like Dave McKeon really gives it a go. I know Williams has done quite a bit with ink. Check out George Pratt doing an ink drawing with a card, with an actual credit card. It's something else. I really respect that when somebody just goes left. when you expect him to turn right. '70s private eye movies are really good, but I find that, and as good as they are in capturing the old school spirit, it's just maybe for me it's something about 1930s. The way they go about it, I know that I realize that there's a kind of a contrivance in them that no matter what, as much as it feels like it's a film, it feels just as much like it's a play, because of the way that they utilize sets. It's kind of one of those early days of figuring out a genre, it's early days of figuring out a technology. And so a lot of films back in the day were really done as theatrical pieces. And there's just something about that. You watch how they're staged, you watch how they move across the room. I mean, that's one of the reasons that Rope by Hitchcock is so interesting to me. And Rear Window, I have a really hard time deciding what my favorite Hitchcock film is, but Rear Window really seems to be the one, at least today. And that is really performed as a stage play when you think about it. It looks like they did a Marlowe movie with Liam Neeson, but I haven't seen it yet. I really need to finish that Perry Mason series. Yeah. Hey, did you see A Walk Amongst the Tombstones? Rear Window is without a doubt my fave and in my top 5 of all movies. Yeah, definitely. I have all the set designs for that. It's a weird thing to have collected, but I have collected all the set designs, and I love it when, like the floor layouts and everything else, I have all that saved as a file on my computer. It's a really weird thing to have, but I'm just so taken by the structure of that courtyard design. Yeah, this has been a lot of fun. Really, really coming at drawing this character. I think I might have. The photo that I have from Paul is so small that I don't know if I really captured him very well. We also haven't met in person. But if they put out a book on a Rear Window set, I would read it. I've got a couple of books on. My wife picked me up a really fantastic Kubrick book when she was in Toronto for a conference, and they had the Kubrick tour going on through the city there. Like it came to the Toronto gallery, and so my wife went to it because what do I do in Toronto on my own type thing. Toronto is the largest city around us, in case anyone doesn't know. And so she brought me that. She bought me the book from the Stanley Kubrick exhibition, and it's, oh my God, if there's anything you wanted to learn about Stanley Kubrick, that's the book. And subsequently, the same troublemaker got me a really great book on Ridley Scott. And for me, that's the 1, 2, 3. There's just something about the style, the visual style, the visual eyeset that they put into how they do their films. There's a Gene Hackman 1970 movie called Night Moves on YouTube that I need to check out. That's right up my alley. Yes, you do. And then you need to watch Enemy of the State. As much as I will not advocate anything Will Smith if I can help it, unfortunately, he's in that too. But there is something about the character in the 1970s film, the character that is in this 1990s vehicle with Will Smith may damn well be the same character. And where he had, expressed the arc of his life was going to go at the end of that film, maybe where he is in this other film. It's really impressive. It's really impressive. So how big can I get this? I gotta step away now. Gotta go fight crime. It's been nice, Ice. Later, Gator. I got a giant slab of a book that's Kubrick's script, concept art, and storyboards for his unmade Napoleon. Abandoned or failed projects are interesting, like Jodorowsky's Dune. Man, I'd like to see that book. Yeah, I absolutely love Kubrick's films. And I've got the Jodorowsky. I've got a fantastic disc set that a friend of mine made me that is all of the Dunes. I have all of the Dunes. I'm sorry, all of the Dunes, and that includes the Lynch cut. There's an extended Lynch that I have, like a whole bunch of stuff that we'll never get to see. That's all part of an interview during the making of, and then I've got the Jodorowsky's Dune, and then the modern Dune, all in one big parcel put together by a friend of mine. I did a portrait of him looking all austere, and he puts it on all the DVD packages that he puts together for people now. It's really great. I'm looking at another picture now, and it gives me a little bit more insight into that. I can shore up his face a little bit for the portrait that I'm doing, because I was feeling like the shape of the chin because of the cast light in it. That's why you don't. The problem with drawing from photographs is that you lock step into the way that the light is in those images. Okay, now here's so I'm gonna go just because before we go off here. Let me do this. I really like the shape and structure of that nose. I want to play with something. I'm going to play a lot tonight with this because I'm just having fun drawing with a pen nib. It's really exciting to me. But bear with me, Gary. I'm drawing one of the Mibs. But like I say, bear with me. Because I'm trying to find the structure and the line as you put it down. That's there's a really, I'm going to show you something right now while I'm doing this because it bears seeing. The image that I'm using right now is from Gary Hodges' DVSM 1979. And this is one of his 2 MIB characters. The structure of line, the simplistic line that he puts down in order to represent the contours and shapes in a face. Gary, if you're here, hum and close your ears for a second. But there's a little mark in that cheek or in that chin and that lip. And if you look at the lip itself, there's a turned line. I'm going to show you something right here. The line does this. Whoops. And then the line follows through on the lip like that. And the amount of expression in that, the fact that the line moves, I've done a really shit example of it, pardon me. But because that line moves like that, it gives you all of this structure and shape in the lip and in the chin that I get to work from. So thank you, Gary, for doing that. Things like that are really helpful. When you're looking at somebody else's stuff, you want to be courteous and respectful of it. But at the same time, it's hard to do so because of how lines are put down. But when you have somebody who puts a line down that way and gives different weight to the movement of the mouth, well, that just helps a lot. Anyways, it's really well done. See, I'm making this mistake of trying to actually put the line down like that. Well, that's not the way I'm drawing at all. Just being silly. Hey, get to it. Do your job. There you go. Well done. It's free reign. Oh, Lord. Don't be doing that now. We got to keep that guy restrained as best we can. It's good the camera is acting up terrible today because then you can't see my head whiplashing back and forth as I'm looking at the source image here. So there's our first rough. There's the turn of the chin does the same thing. Lee Marvin in The Killers is another great film. that I think that people aren't going to really understand. Oh, what was it I watched recently? There's a movie with Bradley Pitt. I tend not to like Bradley Pitt because, too much acting. But the train film he's on, that is wonderful, mindless, beat 'em up fun. There was just something to that film that just, an enjoyable couple of hours, if it was even that. I feel like it was a little more brief than that. Yeah, that's coming along pretty fun. And there's a shadow line out of his eye from behind the glasses here, which tells me that he has a cheek that moves like this. And then it's a soft, flat plane here. I don't know. I'm picturing this guy as being older anyways. So I'm going to take a little bit of liberty. I hope you don't mind. My pen is being antagonizing. It's kind of thick and cakey old ink here. Give me a sec. There we go. I'm going to have to play with this some more, but I want to try to get like this character a lot. Yeah, I was really unhappy with how the pen was making marks in his cheek and really breaking it up. Way too much texture in here now. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, Jim sent me some images now too, so we're going to follow ahead with this idea that's been suggested about I need your help on a case, Sam. So it's the same as anything else. When I'm putting together pages and when I'm trying out different techniques and different approaches to whatever I'm drawing, my brain is often just thinking about, as much as I'm drawing and thinking in the moment with that, my brain is also often thinking about composition and where can I take this story? What's some ways that I can come at this differently than the previous thing that I just did? You know, the Sam the private eye pages that I do tend to be really silly, and so I want to think of a way to be silly, because that's the tone of the pages, and that's the framing sequence for this, right? But I want to maintain the level of silliness with it, but at the same time, allow some of the characteristics of these characters from other projects to come through. And so looking at it from that perspective sort of gives me a structural framework for where to start with everything, and think about how do I keep in mind, the characters that are being presented, not just the people who have brought forward their own images to be used, but then the characters from the various projects that are included. Because no matter what, like the problem with when you read a lot of so-and-so versus Batman or so-and-so, crossover with this principal character, is that if it's two different creator-owned characters, they're so busy, the two of them vying for their respective properties looking the best in the light of whatever the project is, that oftentimes the story can be sacrificed for that. And if not the story, then one or the other of those two characters that are in this crossover are going to get shortchanged. It's so common. I mean, but at the same time, I love really weird takes on things. Like if you ever had a chance to read, I think it's Pat Mills. I think it was Pat Mills that did a Scottish Batman story, or where Batman goes to investigate the legacy of the Wayne family in Scotland, and some property he has there. And if you can imagine, a really intensely Scottish writer writing Batman, it's a heavily Scottish story. Like it's there's a lot of things that you would never have written here in North America by a North American writer setting a story in Scotland. It would just, there's a level of authenticity by a person who's in, place and time, as opposed to a person that's, writing about it but isn't there. So whenever, I have an opportunity to work on somebody else's thing, I want to do my best to maintain the integrity of whatever their project is. That being said, that doesn't mean I have in any way, shape, or form any interest whatsoever in working on, that's not good, working on any of these mainstream characters, the superhero characters. I'm always there's a part of me that's a little bit disappointed when you see somebody's doing absolutely brilliant, provocative things with their independent project, and then they go to draw some mainstream book. Now, mind you, that makes them money to survive, but I'm like, but you had such clear and clean vision and storytelling for your own thing. Who cares about Superman? What new Superman story is that company really going to let a person tell? I mean, there are new versions of it. I like to read those books too, but at the same time, I'm not, and nor would I ever advocate independent people ever leaving what their projects are to go off and do that. What are we at? 153. I got to wrap up in a couple of minutes here, but just to bring this together, give you some of the. Here we go. Thank you, Gary. I'm laughing out loud at I have the same reaction. It feels a little sad to me to see some talent drawing some sacred cow. Now, if you drew Superman as a cow, if that's how you did it, yeah. I'll buy 3 copies. Like if you've seen Peter Bagge's The Megalomaniacal Spider-Man, there's a prime example of, okay, you can do that mainstream character, that mainstream story, but you better give it your thing. And boy, does Bagge do it in spades. It's all about, it's Spider-Man if it was written from an objectivist perspective, like Ditka was an objectivist, right? A Randian. He believed in a lot of ideas of objectivism. So if you wrote Spider-Man as that, he would be this constantly whining, perplexed young man that's constantly being chided by everyone around him. You have power. You have the ability to do things. Shut up. Get out there and save people. What do I owe them? Any of my ability? It's such a fantastic. Am I right? Am I right in just assuming that I should go out and do that? Like, who am I to be the moral authority? It's just so good. yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. There's a lot of really fantastic lines in this character's face and really wonderful structure that I'm looking forward to interpreting. It's really well done. So the best I can do is do it some justice. Do the best drawing I can of it. Oh, that's very nice, Gary. Thank you. Yeah, I like this character a lot. It's a well done character. Big eyebrows. But I'm coming up on that time, folks. Anybody that's watching, let me do my standard thing. Anybody that's in here today, if you have a one-page comic suggestion, a couple of lines, the suggestion for this one is taking three different characters from three different sources, two different books, and then a couple of people from real life, and incorporating them together in a story, which is an exciting idea. The previous page that we did yesterday was what was it? Let's find it. It was Chuck Norris Fashion Action Show. And the day before that was Christopher Walken ordering a beer and drinking it. And so I said that in The Shining. I don't know if anybody got that or not, but that's Lloyd from The Shining. It's the bartender. What could I get for you, Mr. Walken? So, fella, this place reminds me of a movie. I don't suppose you have any beer. Of course, sir. Would you like a lager? Lager? Sure. Just dumb. Anyways, so each day I try to do a different thing. We've had the UFO drag race before that. It's been a number of different projects. So if anybody has one-page comic suggestions, feel free to please put them in the comments. And Monday through Friday, 2:00, I'm here streaming live, working on whatever page and whatever style I'm working on it, and I post it for the next day. So pay attention for this one. It can be coming out on the interwebs tomorrow. But in the interim, I think I'm going to sign off. Thank you, everybody that came out. Thank you for everybody with your comments. Thank you very much for those that are trusting me with their images. I'm very grateful for that. Very honored that you're allowing me to do so. So, otherwise, I will see you Monday at 2:00. It doesn't mean I won't be posting stuff this weekend, but I will be back for sure streaming Monday at 2:00. Oh, thanks very much, Gary. You have a great day as well. And again, anybody has a one-page comic idea? Hold on, where is it? It's at the top. We got some comments today. There it is. If you have a one-page comic idea that you can put in 1 or 2 sentences, put it in the comment section. Otherwise, have a great day. I will see you Monday at 2:00. Thanks, Philip. Thanks for hanging out, buddy. Okay. Have a great day. Keep creating, everybody. Bye for now.